at 6 p.m. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. That we call this regular meeting of council to order at 6 p.m. And we indicate that we have all attendance with full quorum. We also have a couple of guests tonight. We have Jordan Wally from the fire department, and we should warn our listeners that if any untoward sounds are heard, that's his phone telling him of a pending fire, and he will be leaving us then at that point in time. Thank you for being here tonight. We also have a delegation that we'll be getting to in just a few minutes with Gib Wood and Val Belter. Thank you for coming. And as usual, thank you to our audience members who are all here. So call vote to call meeting to order. Okay, and that is carried. Mover was Morton and seconder was Councillor Manson. The approval of the agenda. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Grant, Councillor Morton. Therefore, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin hereby approves the agenda as circulated. All those in favor? That's carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Councillor Dean Grant declared a conflict of interest with agenda item number 6.1, Stewart's Road issue involving potentially his parents. So, and our deputy clerk has that form already. Approval of the previous meeting minutes. May I have a mover and a seconder again, please? Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the minutes for the regular meeting of April the 8th be approved as presented and circulated. Oh, you have a question. All in favor? Oh. Yeah, I was going to get to that after a minute. All in favor?
I put my hand up for it.
That's carried. Oh, I see you were jumping the gun. Well, that's fine. So delegations to council, we have one tonight, and this is from the Area Economic Development Committee. Now therefore, a mover and a seconder to present this, or should I wait till after? Yeah. Let them present first. All right. So Val, Gib, I don't know who's presenting, which of.
I think we're doing a duo.
Yeah, tag team.
All right.
Should I stand? Or
No, that's.
Oh, thank you. So, your worship and members of council, thank you so much for having us here today. And I suppose I should say, and municipal staff. Thank you very much for having us here today. I'm Val Monestine Belter, and this is Gib Wood. A few months ago, we met at a political breakfast, which has nothing to do with this, but I'm just stating facts. And our new or existing or continuing MPP, Vic Fideli, said, I don't understand this area. You don't apply for enough grants. You should, as a group, And from that, a conversation happened. And first thing you know, we've been meeting every 2 weeks for the last 2 months, talking about what could we do, should we do, may we do. And the conversation has developed into some form of economic development group, association, something rather. We've talked to a lot of people, we've made lists of initiatives, and now I'm going to pass it over to Gib, who will tell you where he came from and why he loves this area.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate all the time that you're giving us this evening to share our story. This initiative has come, well, I guess starting with myself. Again, Gib Wood. I've been coming to the region of Mattawa since 1972, where our family bought property on Champlain Lake. So I grew up here as a child, teenager, young man. So I've had the opportunity of being able to see the transition of the town over the years, the ups and the downs. I've recently retired here in Pablo County on Champlain Lake as well. As Vala mentioned, we met with Vic, and what came out of that was basically organizing local business people and bringing together councils from different townships and municipalities, whereby we can create an initiative, a group of people that have business acumen, background, and have the same passion that they wanted to help implement programs, incentives. And what we did is we reached out to get a sense as to what was important to the people. And from that, we put together a list of 6 different pillars or portfolios, as I like to refer them to. And we've added leaders to those to be able to initialize those initiatives. So what we've done now is again, we've talked to pretty much all the mayors and the 4 townships and municipalities to sort of get a thermometer test to see, is there an appetite in the area to create this type of development? You know, I think most of us are fully aware that there was this initiative for many years, I believe 12, 15 years it ran, over 5, 6 years ago. Correct? Some of you were directly involved. So understand, you know, what I'm talking and referring to. We think that there's a demand and there's a need to revitalize that. We've got approximately 10 to 12 business people in the area that are attending the meetings. And there seems to be a lot of excitement to come together, work with the municipalities, and be able to start initializing and taking individual programs and incentives and things that we see as priorities. Again, we're still out in the open looking at different ideas and concepts and what's important. I know we met Richard a week ago, what I took from that meeting was this is great, but if I can use the expression, show me the money. Is there an ROI? Is there a payback? And I think what we've done is we've spent a lot of time and energy looking at, you know, what is the actual the investment, what is the return on that investment, and how can this impact the region across all the regions, not just 1 or 2 of them. So in saying that, here's some of the thoughts, I want to share with you the 30,000-foot view as to where we are today and where we're heading. So we see value in resurrecting with the North Bay District Chamber of Commerce and in getting people involved in the region in that and utilizing what the chamber has to offer. We think there's a lot of things that they bring to the table that we can take advantage of here in the region. We're looking to employ a couple graduate students in order to be assistants, and we also want to have a full-time business development officer, someone that we would source that is passionate, comes with a lot of experience, someone that could take the initiative, and this would be a full-time position. If you have any questions along the way, by the way, feel free just to jump in. So what we would be doing again through these initiatives that we've outlined is to be able to have that one person driving the leaders of each one of these pillars in the community as far as these initiatives. So the vision and the mission as a whole is to basically create an economic hub. Create a group of individuals who come with expertise, come with resources that we can pull together and again work with local council and as a team to initialize these projects. And it was interesting when we went out and asked what people thought that would be ideas to create revenue, to create tourism, to create bringing new business, bringing people. And I'd like to share some of those ideas with you because I think they really have a lot of merit. And again, with the amount of people we have, I think we have the resources to be able to implement these with the talent pool that we put together. So one of them is to grow the local business and tourism. As you well know, tourism is something that is a commodity that has no end to it. And we see a lot of potential with the natural resources that we have here in your beautiful township and as well as throughout the region. Well, we feel that there's a need for healthcare and bringing good talent to the region. We want to grow the region. We need the workforce. And that's going to take some development in creating a town, a community, or a region. And one of those was in your township, for example, to be able to have remote workers. And you have a beautiful place here for people to work. And with some of the new technologies that it's advancing, allowing us to have all of the infrastructure to do off-site. We think there's a tremendous opportunity to encourage people to come to the area here at a low cost living compared to, for example, the South, as one example. So improving the infrastructure and regional collaboration was basically, or was another one that, again, talking about the issues of advocating for high-speed internet and giving the resources that's required in order to attract the people to come to your community and to the region. Again, advancing property and community development. There's one of the biggest challenges I think that we have here in the region when it comes to tourism is we don't have any overnight accommodations. So that's a huge challenge that needs to be overcome. We have the land, we have the property, but we just don't have those facilities. And we have some ideas around that the team would like to again take a deeper dive and implement that so that when people come, they have a place to stay, and because they're staying, they're going to spend more money and so on. Again, enhancing business support services. We feel that there's a lack of that in the community, working with young people, entrepreneurs, existing businesses to help them with the resources, help them with with some expertise that the group bring from, example, my 40 years of experience running 5 businesses, as well as the many other people within the group that come with their expertise as well, and our ability to be able to share that with young entrepreneurs, startups, and enticing companies to come here and being able to provide those resources. Lastly, developing long-term innovation projects. There's lots of things that, for one, creating a media hub here that's going to attract the people to understand what it is that we can provide, and the opportunities here as a tourist destination, as a retirement destination, and as a place to come and work as a remote worker. So as you can imagine, this all takes money. And what we're here today is to talk about a request. And what we've done, again, we've met with all 4 regions, and Val has done an excellent job in looking at the numbers of the population from 2021. And in order to simplify the ask, what we've done is worked it out to a per person to give a yearly amount from each region, and with a 5-year commitment. So we feel that this is equitable and fair. And again, we look for some feedback on that as well.
We've just about hit our 10 minutes. If you want another 5 minutes, just go on. Be necessary, yes.
Yeah, I think we'll just finish up here are the key impacts, performance indicators. I think what's really important as well is that from our experience, we want to be totally transparent. This will be a nonprofit organization. We'll have the ability to be able to have Gantt charts for each one of the portfolios so that at any point we can see and be able to benchmark where we started, where we are, and where we're going at any given time. We think this is really important to the people to see value in the money that they're investing in the group and in this association. So we basically put together a 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5 year plan. Again, that'll all be laid out in a Gantt chart, clearly itemizing the initiatives and where they are, and utilizing different benchmarks to be able to quantify the actual progress of these projects as we move forward. Sure. So at this time, that's the end of our presentation. We'd like to get any feedback, any thoughts to first of all, do you feel there's a need, and is this something that you would support moving forward?
Well, I'll open it up to questions from council. Any questions? Councilor Latimer.
I like the presentation. I like the ideas. I just have a question about the makeup of your committee. How many are from, I know most of the names, a lot of the names, how many are from outside of Mattawa or in the other outside municipalities?
Well, we can go through and identify.
So for instance, I'm both Mattawa and Mattawan. He's Papineau. Most are from Papineau, actually, coincidentally, but the main street, the office would be in Mattawa. One of our asks today would have been, can we have somebody from Calvin, please? I don't know how we haven't run into anyone. We would love that. It's an open thing, so there's a small board of directors, very small, so it's quick, fast, it makes decisions like that. But there's a group of advisors. And on that group of advisors, that's where input is important. We would love a citizen of Calvin or 2 or 3 or more, but there's no limit to our group. The limit is too many is too much. But non-governmental if possible.
Can I,
I like that answer. I think it would get buy-in if you have people from the other municipalities. It sounds like you do, except perhaps Calvin. I can't hear what you're saying.
I believe that we have representation in all regions except for Calvin, which again, we welcome, and we're looking for somebody because we believe it's very important to have someone from each region.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Roger. You have a question?
Yes, sir. The, probably you don't have anybody from Calvin, but looking for volunteers for one of our committees and we haven't had any response. And we only just found out about your thing yesterday, so.
Right.
The question I have about the minimum number of hours you're providing, it says you're providing 12 hours per year of hands-on business support. Is that for the group? Or is that for individual townships, or is that for individuals asking for help?
So let's say Maxwell Pottery came and said, I need help with marketing this. You've got 12 hours. How do you want to use it?
So,
Because what if there was 50 of them? So we
well,
figured-
that's, yeah,
So that's where that came from.
okay, that's,
Now, if it was suddenly 13 or 16 or 20, because we didn't have the 50, they're more than welcome to that.
yeah. Yeah, the other thing I had, but it's kind of hard for us to commit in the last year of our term to commit to a 5-year program. We're saddling the future council with something that they may not support. And it sounds like this would end up being like a committee that we have, say, for the Conservation Authority, for the police board, or for the VMUTS Trail. And so somebody from council will probably be assigned to it, and then maybe volunteers would be joining in as well, once people know about it.
I do have a question related to Councilor Latimer's question. Why do you not want people from council? I would think that, for example, the Physicians Recruitment Committee, there's one member from each, because they are supporting that committee.
Full transparency. Absolutely a good idea.
Mhm.
But just think about it. Let's make a decision. Well, you'd have to go back to council. And then you'd have to come back 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks later. That's gonna hold it down.
Times 4.
And that's a fear. I think that's why the 5-year commitment, it won't work in 1 year. It won't work in 2 years. It'll take 5 years to develop. Having to wait all the time, I just see it. You know, we will be accountable. We will report. You could ask us not a billion questions. It'll be straight. But I'm just afraid of the time
I think
and the frustration.
I think that what we want to be is we don't want to be a big freightliner. We want to be a little speedboat that we can dip and dive to what needs to be done. There's a lot that needs to be done here. And from, I think the group, the ability, in order to meet the goals, we need to be able to work swiftly, make decisions. And again, as far as accountability, it'll be full disclosure on everything that we do. But I think it's really important, based on some history, that I've been made aware of, that this might be, we believe it's a better way of approaching the challenges at hand. If it's something that's done where we don't have a lot of bureaucracy in 4 different regions that are all having to take time to make decisions, that we can get the things done and move on to the next.
Thank you very much.
We will be nonprofit, so all volunteer driven. We will hopefully with this seed funding, we'll be able to hire a good executive director / business development person. That's to be seen. Oh, sorry.
Councilor Latimer?
Will you move ahead without the support of 1 or 2 of the municipalities? Is that an option for you, or do you need buy-in from everyone?
Each one of the other regions prior, again, to do a thermometer test. The results from that were very, very positive from every one of the regions. And then the stage 2 now is to the next week to 2 weeks, we have appointments to meet with each region. But it's important to us that everybody buys in to make it work.
Right, thank you. Does that answer your question, Councilor Latimer?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Brent, do you have any questions?
Just that you mentioned you were open to feedback. I think the presentation's great. And I think the per capita calculations very fair, as you mentioned, so. I don't have too much to add at this specific time, but it's a good presentation. I think you got some good ideas.
If your population went up, we will take more money.
What if it goes down?
We will take that amount.
We're very honest.
Councilor Manson, any last questions?
No, I think it's all been covered off, just a little time to digest it and see if our unique community could benefit from the organization you're speaking of. So really appreciate the time tonight.
If I could make one comment on that before we wrap up, it's interesting, when I spoke to all 4 regions, not one of them had the same issues. And it really was an eye opener for me, taking the time and sitting down and listening to some of the challenges. And this is why I think it's important that we all need to come together. And what was interesting is what one person challenges, the other region had the solution for. And this is where we believe we can come in and connect all the dots, and we can do it in a timely fashion.
We're all different, we're all the same. We need people.
Again, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And I'll just a mover and a seconder to accept the presentation. Councilor Morton and Councilor Manson. And now therefore be it resolved that Val Beltran and Gibbwood have presented before council as a delegation to council with respect to the Area Economic Development Committee. All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attendance. Have a good night.
And out there to go to 4 feet result.
Do we vote on that?
You said the resolution.
I said we're. I read it. Delegated to direct the Area Economic Committee.
That's one says. Advise. And then blank.
Yeah, because we're doing that in the next meeting.
Oh, the next meeting.
Yes. All right.
Maybe can we just, based on Councillor Morton's comments, what we talked about in the past was to give councillor members a chance to digest, and then someone would need to motion something to the floor prior to the next meeting on time for the agenda to go out, if you wanted to introduce something, but please long in advance so we can get the meeting package together, so whatever your motion might be at that time.
I think that's a very good approach, to give time for that digestion that you speak of.
It sounds like they were talking about needing a response within a timely manner.
I do believe we're the first council they presented to, so.
We are the first one. All right. The next item on the agenda is 6, business arriving from previous council meetings.
Sure.
Public Works Superintendent, Stewart's Road, solicitor follow. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Morton, Councilor Manson, and Councilor Grant is excusing himself as per his declaration. All right, so we'll should I read it or? Yeah, and
Questions, Van?
is here. Thank you for coming, even though you weren't feeling well. So we have this report in front of us. Anne, did you care to comment?
I would like to comment, and I apologize that I'm not feeling well. However, it's very important to me that I don't miss a council meeting. We don't have that opportunity all the time to be together. Since we've begun speaking about Stewart's Road, I've received several emails from the residents and taxpayers that use Stewart's Road. I have prepared the report that you have tonight, as well as the information that was received from our solicitor that says that obviously we would have to get a survey completed. However, I would like to ask council to defer the matter till our next meeting so that the residents and the taxpayers of Stewart's Road are able to come forward and to present their comments and ideas and to the council so that there is consideration of how they view this issue.
The recommendation then is that we defer the motion until next meeting, giving them a chance to speak at a delegation then.
I would appreciate that as very much, sir.
All right, then I have a motion on the floor to defer the matter until the next meeting, giving the residents of Stewart's Road a chance to speak before a delegation. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that request? Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. So we have a motion to defer the Public Works Superintendent's report until our next meeting in May. And all those in favor? All right, so that is carried unanimously. We're sorry, folks, that we've
Thank you, your worship.
see what we're going on, but Anne's position is that this would give you an opportunity to prepare a delegation if you wanted to speak with the council. So does that make sense?
Can we review that? You mind if I speak?
Well, you can review the report because it'll be online and then speak at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect.
And thank you for coming. I don't think there's a need for you to stay on any longer. You don't have another report coming up, right?
No, I just have the RFQ on the agenda, as well as the support I'm asking for the Sudbury, Greater City of Sudbury case.
So maybe if you're okay with it,
I can-
we move it forward so that Anne and her, the way she's.
And you don't look good, so you look as if you're suffering, so I don't
Oh, I
mean
thought I
that you.
looked hot.
All right, so let's advance item 8.4, the Public Works Superintendent Report awarding the calcium bid. Can I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Manson and Councillor Morton. So this is a request for a quotation for road stabilization material. Do you want to speak on that, Ann?
I will say this year we did put it out to a request for quotation. There are only two companies that service the municipality of Calvin. It's Daily Construction as well as Pollard Highway Products. I'm happy to say that we actually got 1 cent less a liter than we did last year when we were expecting a 6% increase. So it did come in under the budget of last year. And I believe the dollar figure speaks for itself.
Are there any questions from council? None? All right, whereas a request for quotation was executed for the supply and application of road stabilization and dust suppression material, and whereas 2 bids were received and reviewed, be it hereby resolved that council for the municipality of Calvin accept the bid from Pollard Distribution Inc. at 43 cents per liter for a total of 36,120 plus HST. Any last comments? None? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Ann, and thank you very much for your attendance tonight.
Oh, 8.1.
One more.
One more? Which one?
8.1.
Oh. Oh, yes. Okay, well, this one I won't call for a mover and a seconder until we've had a chance to discuss this. I didn't realize, yeah, that's from you. Before we read the resolution and move it and second it, Ann, could you tell us a little bit about the Sudbury Notice of Motion?
The greater city of Sudbury had hired a contractor to do some highway work. The contractor had incidentally hit a pedestrian with a grader. Unfortunately, that person had it was a fatality. During that process, the contractor was taken to task, and they were sued for their involvement with the loss of that life. However, the greater city of Sudbury was also put into the claim so that they had to defend it, and they had to defend it several times. It was appealed several times, but the Ministry of Labor kept taking them back to court to make them responsible for the contractor. The responsibility lies within the definition of the word employee within the Ontario Health Safety Act. Currently, how the definition of employee is currently, to put in layman's terms, if you were to hire a roofer to come to your property and to put a roof on your home, they somehow have become the employee and you have become the employer, which would ultimately make you responsible as a private homeowner for any injury that could occur. There's a lot of advocacy currently amongst the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors to promote this, as well as the greater city of Sudbury, to ensure that this doesn't occur again to another municipality or a private homeowner, to advocate that the definition of employer be changed within the OSHA rules. I'm asking support from this council to support the city of Greater Sudbury in their advocacy on this change with the OSHA laws.
Oh, that's very surprising. And you know, I recently had my roof repaired, so I wasn't aware that I was the employer in that instance.
In that case you are, but in this one here, it's a subcontractor.
Yes,
This Sudbury was hiring a company and that company hired somebody.
And it made national news that it's been going on for quite a while, this case. Yeah.
I would support the motion for sure. I don't know. Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
It'd be like you hiring Dean to do some plumbing work and then he brought in an assistant, and the assistant screwed up. Now all of a sudden it's your fault.
It's absolutely crazy, to have that chain of liability, and that would require us to, anytime we hire a subcontractor, we might as well do the job, because now we had to be responsible for the subcontract. It's just, the whole thing's crazy. 100% support it. And it's, to me, it just shows how stupid government can be sometimes.
Agree.
That's my opinion.
The ability to pay as well. They're going after Sudbury because they have the ability to pay.
Right. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, I'll call us to a vote. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Morton and Councillor Manson. Whereas the council for the city of Sudbury requests that the province amend the Occupational Health and Safety Act to clarify the definition of employer to exclude owners that have contracted with a constructor for a project. And whereas the council for the municipality of Calvin supports this request and endorses the greater city of Sudbury's resolution CC 2023-303, and be it further resolved that this motion be provided to the greater city of Sudbury, Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Minister of Labour, Immigration and Skills Development, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, MP and MPP for the District of Nipissing, the Federation of the Northern Ontario Municipalities, the Council of Ontario Construction Associations, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. So
Thank you very
sorry
much.
for attending. Have a good night and feel better soon.
Thank you.
All right. So we will move back to item 6.2, which is the appointment of a fire chief by bylaw. So I need, I guess there's not much discussion. We're just appointing a fire chief. So I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Morton, Counselor Manson. Whereas the council of the municipality of Calvin may establish, maintain, and operate a fire department for all or any part of the municipality pursuant to section 5 of the Fire Prevention and Protection Act 1997. And whereas section 6-1 of the Fire Prevention Protection Act 1997 requires that where a fire department has been established, the council of the municipality appoint a fire chief for the fire department. And whereas bylaw number 2024-289 establishes the regulation of a fire department in the corporation of the municipality of Calvin, and section 2 of that bylaw 2024-289 designates a fire chief as head of the fire department. And whereas by resolution of council on April the 8th, 2025, council directed the CAO to offer the fire chief position with terms and conditions, including duties and salaries, as presented by council to Jordan Wally. And whereas Mr. Wally, who has been fulfilling the role as acting fire chief since April the 1st, 2025, has now accepted council's offer of employment as the municipality's fire chief effective May the 5th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of municipality hereby enacts as follows: that Jordan Wally be and is hereby appointed as fire chief for the corporation. And that 2, that any preceding bylaws appointing fire chief may hereby be repealed. And 3, that this bylaw shall come into force on and an effect on the 5th day of May, 2025. So, any questions, comments? I have one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sam.
Goes without saying. All those in favor? Oh, there we go. Congratulations is for sure.
Maybe for those who are listening, we have many new residents in our community. Can you just talk about your history with the fire department, Jordan? Give a couple words about, like, if that's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jordan Wally, for anybody who doesn't know, started in the fire department in 2012. Moved up through the role there. Have spent time in management there, helping out, doing stuff with the, when we've kind of been in and out of a fire chief, so kind of a position that's kind of taken this over, so. And 3 generations of history on the fire department. My grandfather was the first chief there, and that's pretty much it.
Look forward to welcoming you on May 5th. Into the office with the rest of the staff team, so congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for joining. Your grandfather was a character that everybody knew in the township. He was one of those larger than life people, Keith
Yeah.
Wally. And if I remember correctly, he actually started the fire department after the death of a resident on Suzanne's Road, I believe. And worked really hard to drive around, find fire trucks and find volunteers and get it all together. So it's a legacy. It definitely is a legacy.
Come a long way for sure.
Well, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is appointment of a deputy fire chief. And that will be deferred until the next council meeting. I just need a mover and a seconder to defer that appointment, please. Okay, Councilor Morton and Manson. So we're just deferring the appointment of the deputy fire chief, which we would normally do at the same time, but it just.
Yeah,
We're not-
Jordan and I are discussing, he's yet to appoint someone and accept, so we have to get the job description and contract and all that together and the offer and.
So all those in favor? Okay, that motion is deferred. It's carried. Appointment of a municipal bylaw enforcement officer, animal control officer. I need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Manson and Councilor Morton. So this is the appointment of municipal bylaw officer, animal control officer. Um, Before I read the whole proposal, does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have one little comment.
Sure.
Jordan was so kind to point out a spelling error in the schedule to the bylaw. It does say that he is going to preserve the peace and prevent offenses. And
Oh,
so that is preserving the peace. So the official form that you will have him sign off on does say peace.
well, we can always move
I
that.
am bringing peaches today, but
I wasn't sure if it was a legal term. I've never heard of it.
And I just want to also point out that, you know, the law enforcement, not bylaw, but law enforcement, and that we really are, Jordan and I have talked about
Well,
this.
if I read that incorrectly, it is law
It is law
enforcement?
enforcement.
Okay,
And Jordan and I spoke as counsel, and we did prior to this offer to Jordan, is that this is really not about going out and finding people. This is really about the peace of it all, and you know, we won't be chasing people in their bylaws, and this isn't about going out and finding, you know, I was telling Jordan just yesterday that Timmins, it's very public, Timmins is they have a 2-day blitz where they're going out and actually looking at properties this week, where they are going to tell people, you're not following that bylaw. This is not what Calvin's law enforcement officer, animal control officer will be about. It will be about keeping the peace in the community. And when we do get complaints, we really do need to follow up on those, and we do get those often enough. Now we will have somebody to go out and keep the peace amongst people and promote the bylaws, you know, when people are having, you know, when they're having infractions on those bylaws, but when they're reported, we're not going out to look for problems.
and I think that was Councilor Manson's concern, was that we didn't want to get into a situation where we were running around measuring blades of grass and all that kind of thing. So that's good.
So you'll see within the resolution and also in the job description, it really focuses on peace, not enforcement.
No, it focuses on peach.
Peaches. It was a great way to start this morning, and he asked if it meant peaches, and I said, yeah, we have peace waiting for you here.
Any other questions or comments? None? Whereas section 15, 1 of the Police Services Act, RSO 1990, as amended from time to time, authorizes municipal councils to appoint persons to enforce the bylaws of the municipality. And whereas section 15 of the Police Services Act, RSO 1990, as amended from time to time, designates municipal law enforcement officers, not by law, that are peace officers for the purpose of enforcing municipal bylaws. And whereas the Council for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin deems it expedient to appoint municipal law enforcement officer, also known as bylaw enforcement officer, to enforce the bylaws of the municipality and the animal control officer. And whereas by resolution of council on April the 8th, 2025, council directs the CEO to offer the municipal law enforcement officer, animal control officer position with terms and conditions, including duties and salaries as prescribed by council to Jordan Wally. Now therefore, the council for the corporation of the municipality of Calvin hereby enacts as follows: that Jordan Wally be and is hereby appointed as municipal law officer, animal control officer, and that any proceeding bylaws appointing a municipal law officer or animal control officer be hereby repealed, and that this bylaw shall come into effect in full force and effect on the 5th day of May, 2025. All those in favor? Right, that is carried. Next item on the agenda is just the consent agenda. Were there any things that anybody wanted to bring forward from the consent agenda? It was relatively small. It was not in your package because we have started putting that online only on your laptop. So was there anything to be brought forward? None? All right, so we'll just have a mover and a seconder to accept the consent agenda. Councillor Grant and Councillor Morton. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin hereby receive the consent agenda items as presented and accept them. All those in favor? Carried. All right, so we've handled administrative matters, Public Works Superintendent Sudbury. Item 8.2 Calvin Firefighters Fundraiser. This is fairly simple. I'm just gonna move her in a seconder. Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. Whereas council is in receipt of the Calvin Firefighter Sausage, Pancake, and Scrambled Egg Breakfast and Bake Sale Fundraiser Flyer. Now therefore be it resolved that council encourages all members of council, staff, and the general public to attend this very worthy cause. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
It was mailed out to all residents last week. Probably got that in the mailbox.
I would also encourage not only to attend, but I know that there is so far only one person who's doing all the baking. So if there's anybody out there in Calvin Township land who could do some baking that could be sold at the bake sale, that would be wonderful. So I'm just throwing that out there in case. All right, so all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next item, the binoculars. I thought you might have them here with you. Sorry. Next item on the agenda is moved by me in this case. I'm just bringing this before council. Before I read it, I'll just tell you a little bit of background. The CAO found in the sort of possessions of the township a pair of binoculars and a pair of sunglasses, and wasn't sure why we had them, but they were older binoculars and older sunglasses. I had heard something about these binoculars belonging to Louise to Caroline Lawrence, who has the log cabin house out on Highway 17. So I phoned Kathleen Moore and Linda Kovacs and asked them about it, and they said yes, that we had the binoculars of Louise to Caroline Lawrence. They were dropped off here after her death. So I'll just read this, and if you have any questions afterwards, please. Whereas Mayor Gould has been appointed by council to work with the Mattawa Museum staff to establish a municipality of Calvin history section. And whereas the staff of the municipality has found a pair of binoculars and sunglasses in storage, and Mayor Gould has spoken to two previous municipal clerks and confirmed that the municipality was indeed in possession of binoculars that came from Louise to Caroline Lawrence, world famous scientist and Calvin resident. And whereas these items would best be displayed in a local museum as a way to shine a light on the municipality of Calvin, be it resolved that the mayor arranged to execute between both parties a formal loan agreement of these items to the Mattawa Museum for a renewable period of 5 years, so that they may be displayed in the Mattawa Museum in the Calvin history section. And it also resolved that Mayor Gould provide the museum with a written account of Louise to Caroline Lawrence's display for the museum. Any comments or questions? None? Okay, so all in favor of the loan?
We need a seconder as well.
Oh, I need a seconder. So a second. Councillor Grant is a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? So that is carried. Staff report. Staff attendance at the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Before I call it, you want to tell us a little bit about that, Donna?
Essentially, we just don't have time with everything, that the workload just is too much that we're not able. It doesn't make sense for staff to leave the office to attend this learning opportunity, unfortunately. We have arranged for us we are going to get our cash back, even though that's not the policy.
That's
So it'll
good.
be refunded.
All right, any discussion? No, of course not. All right, whereas the CAO has advised no, I need to move in a seconder, please. Councillor Morton and Councillor Manson. Whereas the CAO has advised council for the Corporation Municipality of Calvin that due to workload, staff will no longer be participating in the 2025 CONAM conference being held in North Bay. Now therefore be it resolved that council for the Corporation Municipality of Calvin hereby receives the report. All in favor? And that is carried. Next item on the agenda 8.6, the CAO report, Tillsonburg Town Council decision letter on strong mayor powers. Don, you want to?
Yeah, I'll briefly speak to this. I thought it was important to bring it down out of consent, as you know, I often do when I think there's something that you may be, you're interested in before you identify the issue and bring it to a next meeting, and it's very timely in that on April 8th, the Premier of Ontario provided powers to 169 municipalities, and that mayors would receive what they call strong mayor powers. Many are calling it other things. We are not one of those 169 communities. However, I do believe that this impacts all of Ontarians, whether this impacts our own council or not, in that this is democracy in Ontario, and strong mayor powers mean if you have read the news or listened to news or seen your Google News on, your daily feed, most of those municipalities had to urgently meet, or they chose to meet urgently because there was less than 1 week provided to those councillors, to the general public, to anyone in Ontario to provide feedback on what the result would mean for Ontario and for those municipalities. Initially started off as 2 municipalities in Ontario, Toronto and Ottawa, being given strong mayor powers so that they could advance the building of homes quicker. This is still being couched under building of homes. I have to be careful that it's not Donna, the person speaking, and Donna, the CEO here. This is still coming out as, in order to build more homes faster, 169 more municipalities after the initial 2, after 30 plus, now 169 more in Ontario have been given strong mayor powers, not only for the building of homes faster, to be able to do all kinds of things without consent of majority of council and without even consulting with council. The report does specify, I gave you a number of links and videos that at the time I personally watched and seen, and I have many friends who are municipal councillors and mayors across Ontario, and when this happened, was hearing from them personally, and I thought that this was something important to council, regardless of whether we're impacted or not, because we could be one of these, and that, the next phase is just those who don't have that number of councillors on council. That would be the next phase to this. So it could come to a town near us, it could come to us, and it could impact the way councils operate. And I've not seen, you will notice that in the next council meeting package since then, we have many, many more councils who have come forward, had emergency meetings, or have met. They didn't get a chance to meet the less than 1 week deadline to provide public comment on this matter. However, they are asking the Premier of Ontario to rescind the powers. Mayors are, and their councils are, in great number because of the impact this has in democracy and councils, giving one person the power to. And most communities are not worried about their mayor today, but it's the mayor that you may not know, coming forward. And in fact, it's very public. If you've not heard of what's happened in Orillia, there's one to watch, and watch what happened to Orillia, and that will give you exactly an idea of one of the many things that mayors can do with a strong mayor power if they should be awarded it. The resolution before you is to support the very first letter that we received, and that was from the town of Tillsonburg. I included just a couple other examples because I didn't want to flood you with so much. It's all over the news anyway. So that is the essentially the motion that comes forward is at the request of Tillsonburg to support their motion. Discussion.
I don't know. So I find that cutting through bureaucracy with a sharp knife can be useful. Like you said, it depends on who's in charge. Mayors are vetted through the electoral process. So that me putting more power in the hands of a vetted elected official for that period of time, I can see both sides of it being positive and potentially negative. So my thoughts.
Go ahead.
I think if they had put it in time for an election, so that people, as the CEO mentioned about like maybe our mayor's okay, but the next mayor might be, and we'd be saddled with it. And if you had that as part of the election package, saying that he's going to get strong mayor powers, it would really impact the electorate as far as giving them that authority. But I agree with Councillor Manson that it removes the democratic process. And it's expanded now to not include just housing, but they're hiding all these other little things in there. Oh, well, we'll add this and we'll add this, which they oftentimes do. And so the big promotion is on housing, but they've slid in all these other knives to stab people in the back, and everybody's missing it.
Any other comments? Deb?
I mean, I think it's a super interesting topic. I think I could sit and talk about this for hours, to be honest, but, just to be brief, and I know it actually does not currently affect us, but, it potentially maybe in the future. I think, you know, that I think that a lot of voters would be shocked at how little power a mayor actually has. I think that a lot of voters assume that mayors actually already have these powers. And I think that if you have a bad mayor, it's a bad thing. If you have a good mayor, it can be a fantastic thing. And so mayors are elected. And I think there is a problem in a lot of municipalities where they can't get anything done. Hence, I believe this to be a pretty extreme measure. And I think it ought to play its course and see how it plays out. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I mean, it's an experiment, it's bold. And, you know, if it's effective, then, in increasing development, cutting some red tape, I mean, I think it's gonna be a great thing. And if not effective, should rescind it. But at this point, I want to see how it goes. And I think it's still democratic in the sense that a mayor is elected. And I would argue that a vast majority of people already believe mayors have these powers likely, or have more power than they do. A mayor is really just another counselor, basically. And, so, you know, it's, lots of nuance in this issue. Like I said, could discuss for a long time, but at this point, you know, I'm not going to, speak against it at this point.
Then I'll jump in. As Donna said, this was brought out in early 2022 for the mayor of Toronto and Ottawa. And then in 2023, it was expanded to approximately 40 or 30 mayors across the province, one of them being the mayor of North Bay. And at that point in time, Mayor Peter Chirico held a council meeting to discuss the strong mayor powers, and all of the things that you're talking about that you're saying were slipped in were back then as well. So what Mayor Chirico did is consulting legal, he delegated authority to dismiss the CAO back to council. And then he delegated the authority to hire and fire key staff members back to the CAO. So they found that although the strong mayor powers were given to Peter Chirico, that you could then rescind those powers just with written decree from the mayor's office. And that's what they did in North Bay. I spoke to the mayor of Mattawa, and they had a council meeting to discuss the mayor powers, and they brought it forward to their next council meeting because Mattawa does fit the category of the 6 candidates, so therefore they will have strong mayor powers. We don't, Mattawa doesn't, Mattawa doesn't, Papineau Cameron doesn't, Bonfield doesn't, we're all small municipalities. And the idea was originally to deal with the homelessness in the province. And we were at, Don and I went to a Roma meeting where they talked about homelessness in the province of Ontario. And they said that, and I just wrote it down from the Roma conference, that right now there are 80,000 people in Ontario who are homeless. And they say that under their modeling, if there's a downturn in the economy within 10 years, that will be 300,000 people in Ontario that are homeless. And that even if the economy has an upturn, it'll be 130,000 people. Now, 130,000 people homeless is not just a number, it's families, it's young children that don't have a place to live. So I think all three federal governments are trying to find a way to deal with homelessness. And the province of Ontario is scrambling hard to find a way to deal with homelessness. They just recently came out with a new law that says it's called Cutting the Red Tape Building Ontario Act of 2024. So I think what the Ontario government is trying to do is they're trying to find a way to solve homelessness in this province. And like I said, this is not just a problem of numbers. This is a problem of people who are actually suffering. We don't live in California where you can put a tent up on the beach and stay there. It's cold here, and homeless families that are either unable to couch surf are living in deplorable conditions. Now, all that being said, I applaud all the work that our CAO Donna Maitland has done in doing the research for these strong mayor powers, and I see some real democratic dangers there. And should they be offered in Calvin, I would do exactly the same that the mayor of North Bay has done, and that is to delegate committees and delegate the hiring and firing of the CAO back to council, not to the mayor, and delegate the hiring and firing of senior staff back to the CAO instead of under the mayor's powers. And that's a perfectly legal way to move forward. If I was in the town of Mattawa, I would decide with the rest of council whether we should have strong mayor powers. However, that being said, I think it's rather disingenuous of me to tell North Bay how they should behave, to tell Mattawa how they should behave, or to tell the provincial government that their thinking is wrong in trying to solve homelessness. So I am not in favor of strong mayor powers, but they're not being offered to me. They're not going to affect Calvin. So I really don't feel it's my place to tell the other municipalities what they should be doing. They should be having their own council meetings and deciding democratically themselves. So that's my Councilor Latimer.
Yeah, I'd like to know how many new homes have been built in the communities that with the strong mayor powers in place. And that this is either a very poorly thought out strategy or extremely devious. It will undermine democracy. Why not? What's the next step? Eliminate town councils and have one person run the show?
There's actually a study put out that was promoted. I'm not sure if I referenced it here, but they do talk about since strong mayor powers were provided that in the last 3 years, the housing starts have decreased in the cities. There has been no increase in the number of housing starts. And I just want to comment on what Councilor Morton did say. It's not only, this isn't about me being against hiring and firing, because what is also known is that there'll be many more lawsuits against councils when mayors choose to fire without cause, as what's happened in Aurelia just recently, because of strong mayor. This is also about a mayor being able to set the budget without consultation with council. Mayors being able to change bylaws without consultation, nothing to do with housing, just on that note. So, okay, I'm giving it to a vote. I'll leave this one.
Going forward, it'd be interesting to see whether we have councils or communities increasing their number of councillors, because there doesn't seem to be a criteria. You have a township as Mattawa,
Right.
which has 6 councillors and have population of 2,500. You got East Forest with 4 East Ferris with 4 councillors and a population of about 4,500. So the smaller, the minimum has to be 4 councillors, but where does it go that you have to move to 6 or 7?
Right.
So smaller community, Latchford has been given these powers because they have 6 council members. They're not that much bigger than we are. And yeah, they're not that much. And so one other point is that councils do not have to vote on this, by the way. These powers are given to mayors without consultation. So it's only because the mayors who have been given the powers are not willing to see the future of municipalities being led by a mayor rather than councils. Is that why those meetings are happening? So there's no need to consult with council members. The mayors in those 169 communities have now been given the powers when this passes as of May 1st. No need to consult with councils about how they feel about it. That's just an important note.
All right. So, do we vote on each item you've listed of 5
It's on
items?
their resolution. I just repeated what the original resolution that we received from Tilsonburg was.
Okay, so it's just the original resolution up
Yeah,
here?
to support, you could actually leave it with, to support the town of Tilsonburg's resolution and bring that to a vote, as I know, without going into the,
Okay,
if you'd like to not read it all.
sure. All right, so a mover and a seconder, please. Councilor Morton. Councilor Latimer. Whereas the Council for the Corporation Municipality of Calvin is in receipt of the CAO report 24-2025 and has considered Tilsonburg's town council decision letter, April the 14th, 2025. Oh, sorry, that was 2025 before. Strong mayor powers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin hereby supports the Township of Tilsonburg's resolution. All those in favor? That's 2. I'm not in favor, so.
But that's what I was just gonna ask. As you get down the items, does or does not. So like, if we support the thing, we do not want the strong mayor powers.
Right,
Right.
you're not.
And so we want to be in favor, but not have strong mayor powers.
Right, and you and Councilor Latimer voted there.
Yeah.
So the motion fails.
Yeah.
All right, so then we don't need to send it out to,
Yeah.
the other things. All right, so the next one is, the CAO report 2025, establishing a standing committee of council, fire committee resolution number 2025. Really good report here, Donna, this is, in depth. So before we call over in a second, do you want to just sort of discuss what we're attempting to resolve here?
I think the report speaks for itself. I think we have an opportunity with the new fire chief to bring greater confidence in council about the activities happening administratively. And this isn't about babysitting, very not about that at all. It is about council being more informed. I mean, we did attend and brought back to council the things that you learned about establishing bylaws and how that is the municipality, the council. It's council's will that goes into establishing bylaw, no different than providing direction to the CEO, it's direction to the fire hall, the establishing bylaw is. And there's an opportunity here, I think, with a new fire chief. So many, I laid out all the rationale for, and the things that we have discussed either as mayor and past chief or council with myself and the mayor over, the past year, as Jordan, talks about the history of the Calvin Fire Department, and the things that you learned at the fire conference and brought back to council. There's a real opportune time here. I think we know there are several issues with, recognition of training that didn't happen over the last couple of years. This is the ways that we can ensure that the fire department has support from council, and when it doesn't, then at least fire chief knows why. When there's direction provided to the fire chief through the CEO, the fire chief has actually been a part of meetings where he can discuss these things in advance with council. So nothing comes as a surprise to anyone, whether things are working, not working, what the budget is, what it isn't, why things. So it's just it's a way to enhance the communication between council and the fire department through the chief.
And you've recommended that all members of council be members of this committee. It's a standing committee, correct?
Up to up to, and so really it could be, you know, committee of a whole, participating as a fire committee. They're saying up to 5,
Or no less than 3.
no less than 3.
And the fire chief is on the committee, and it's recommended that we bring in the fire marshal for an advisor.
As an advisor, not a non-voting member of the committee. And that, again, you know, this would, I think, support everyone in moving forward to strengthen the fire department. As Jordan said, he stepped in a number of times over the past years, number of years now, at least 3 years, to fill voids. And, you know, we do know that there are things that are missing. We talked about that, you know, the risk assessment, lots of things that have lacked. And so, you know, this is to provide support to Jordan moving forward and to provide council with a way to keep the communication lines open between fire chief and the fire department and council.
Right on.
Do you have any comment, Jordan, about that?
No, I think it's a good plan just to create that bridge of transparency of what's going on over there and what's going on here, so everybody should know.
Council Latimer has a question.
Yes, how often do you think this committee would meet? Once a month, a couple times a year?
Friends that I've set aside, talk about once a month initially. And it would be up to the committee to bring back to council whether they want to change that terms of reference. I just think initially, as we get going, monthly, at a time and date that we would arrive at a later time, you know, amongst each other. So whether, you know, it would be a set 4th Tuesday of every month or whatever the committee, depending on its membership, would decide.
Any other questions or comments? Would I have volunteers here? Okay, so Councilor Morton, Councilor Grant? We need 3. Councilor Latimer.
Yes, I can volunteer if I can do it remotely, and obviously it depends on time of day. I'm not free during the day. Evenings, fine.
Also, Councilor, that leaves just you, if you could be there as well.
I don't, the obligation in for this for myself right now. Thank you.
All right. So then it wouldn't be a committee of the whole, it would be a committee, standing committee.
Okay, and then we just need to add then the appointment of those members to this motion. So I think it would just be, and that council members communicate in writing instead of the council members communicating individually in writing to see the CEO, whether they want to participate as presented. We can name the council members, Morton, Grant, Latimer, and the mayor be appointed.
Is that here somewhere?
Yeah, the very last 8.7.
Oh, yes, okay, here.
And that council members, Mayor Gould, just need to be appointed to.
And of course, the fire chief be appointed as well, right?
He's already a member of standing committee as I am, so we don't need to appoint that.
Okay.
Would be a staff member to take notes.
CEO and fire chief, we can manage it between us. Yeah.
Okay. No,
Otherwise, we'd have to close the office and we don't have any other staff.
Isn't that one of the things that we were nice about in the early days, when we didn't have this, remember the committee?
John is a staff member.
Yeah.
Staff member and so is
So
Joanne.
John is a staff member. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I'm moving a seconder for the standing, for the committee. It is standing committee.
It's
Yes,
standing, not committee of whole.
Yeah, okay. I need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Latimer and Councilor Morton. Yes, please.
Whereas Council for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin received CEO Report 25-2025, establishing a standing committee of Council's Fire Committee, and whereas Council for the Municipality of Calvin recognizes the importance of ensuring effective governance, accountability, and oversight of its fire protection services, And whereas given administrative challenges have highlighted the need for improved policy development, reporting and support for the fire department. And whereas considering council has recently appointed a new fire chief and soon a new deputy fire chief. And whereas council considering municipal councilors are legislatively responsible for the provision and regulation of fire services under the Fire Protection and Prevention Act 1997. Now therefore be resolved that council will establish a fire committee as a standing committee of council tasked with supporting the strategic government's oversight and policy development of fire services in the municipality of Calvin. And that Mayor Gould, councillors Morton, Grant and Latimer form part of this committee as presented in the draft terms of reference within the draft terms of reference.
All those, any last questions or comments? I do have just one. Would it be possible to have the first meeting put out till June?
So we'll chat before, we don't have to decide that tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also agree that it would be a little bit later. Jordan's only starting May 5th. So
That's
we'll
right.
pop them into a committee. It'll give us a chance to.
Right, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
It's kind of early here. All right, so no other discussion. All those in favor? And as well, and that is carried. Agencies, boards and committees, North Bay Conservation Authority. Councillor Morton, you had some information.
No recent meeting, the next meeting is in May.
Can I add something to the
Sure.
North Bay Conservation Authority? Just before the last CEO, whatever the title was, left, we had been in discussions about what we could do to promote use of the trail next door in the winter months. And she was about to come out for a walk. We had been texting one night and then, then she's no longer in that role. But I also spoke to one of the staff members subsequently. So they seem to be very interested in working with me to see the kinds of activities that we can have on that trail. The trail is, while it's blocked off with big boulders in the winter, there's a tiny little sign that if you should drive your car to where you can't drive your car, it says you can use these trails during the summer months. People typically park here and they sneak in because they don't know that it's actually allowed.
Right.
So.
And I would have done the same.
Yeah.
I would have
I'm
assumed.
aware of that as well,
Yeah.
just being on the board in the past, so.
Yeah,
So they think they sneak it in because in the park you're sneaking in.
Cause the gates, they
Well,
got
the
the
gate's
gates,
there.
right?
You
So
can't drive in, it's not
they
safe.
just have more access,
yeah, so.
conversation.
The Robin Allen had told me on the phone, oh, anybody can go and cross-country ski and snowshoe through the trails there all winter long. I said, well, it doesn't say that anywhere. She says, oh yeah, they're allowed to.
Yeah, and there's a sign, it's on right on the poster, like you would never see because you're not entering there. Anyway, just to let you know that had been, I had that going with the CEO of the day. However, since then, I've been chatting with a senior staff member who is very interested in continuing the discussion. So stay tuned, we'll have more information on how.
Good news, PAO starts Monday.
All right, East Nipissing Planning Board, our next meeting is next week. And
April 29th.
yeah. Yeah, it's next week, isn't it?
I believe so,
Yeah.
Day after the election.
whatever the 29th is.
Yeah. After the election.
This before the 30th.
Yeah, just before the 30th. And we will have some things to report after that meeting. It's just before, anyway. There is a physician's recruitment meeting coming up and I forgot to ask our delegation people there. And so I will bring that up at the physician's recruitment as well. Mattawa Police Services Board, Councillor Grant, anything?
Don't have anything to report, unfortunately, we only meet quarterly. So I missed the last meeting, so this reminds me though, I have to determine what the next meeting is, so I have to find that out.
Same with the Ecology Center, there is it's only a quarterly meeting, so there hasn't been one. But I'll let you know, and the council home exit strategy. We had a meeting scheduled, it was canceled, moved forward, we had another meeting scheduled. Now I understand that meeting is canceled, so we're working on another one in approximately 3 weeks' time, is it?
Yeah, I think, well, who knows? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
8 people or 9 people are being consulted about availability, so.
All right, to accept this, Councillor Grant, do you move to accept this?
Yes.
Councillor Grant moves and seconded by Councillor Manson. Now therefore be it resolved that the council for the corporation municipality of Calvin accepts the agency's boards committee verbal reports and or minutes provided by council members at this meeting. All in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Latimer, I just noticed the clock behind you. Does 5 o'clock have a special time in your life?
It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Right, well, talking about 5 o'clock, we were just getting ready to move into a closed meeting. I need to move her to seconder. Councillor Morton, Councillor Manson. Now therefore be it resolved that the council for the corporation municipality of Calvin move into closed session at 7:21 PM to discuss matters of personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. All those in favor? And that is carried. So this meeting is now going to move to the close. So we'll thank you very much for your attendance tonight. And again, congratulations on the new position. We look forward to making the Calvin Fire Department even better than it already is, and it already is pretty good.
Look forward to it as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Give me a call.